So every one of those folds that we just saw is costing Lex 67 big blinds per 100. And so like, if, you know, again, this is what I kind of refer to this as like death by 1,000 cuts. Like, you know, it's like bang, there goes 67 big blinds out the front door. I'd pure open this one, so bang, there's another 67 big blinds out the front door.
What's up, guys? My name is Lex Veldhuis, and welcome to this mini coaching series on BBZ. In this video, we're going to tackle the most important tournament aspects, some of the areas that I'm struggling with the most, and I'm sure that you guys can learn a lot too. This is a coaching session between me and the man himself, BBZ. There's going to be lots of free value in this video. I love to warm up for sessions, doing some coaching, and maybe this video will provide that for you as well. If you have any questions, of course, let us know in the comments, and enjoy.
Lex also just, I think, you know, your audience probably wants to know this. You know, you are winning. Lex is winning over this this sample of hands. It's about 100,000 hands. He's got a win rate. He's doing fine. So he's on a downswing now, but you know, hopefully temporary, and we turn around. And then you're folding about 50% of the hands here still, Lex, since May. So, which is too many. So around the bottom of the range, you are making money with these opens. You're folding around 1 out of 2. We want to have you folding around 20%, because around 20% of these won't really be good opportunities. There'll be like some case where like the other players are,
or like ICM and stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly, something going on. But yeah,
Man,
so we want to see you folding some of these, but
still
you're folding half.
Still 50%, huh?
Yeah, still 50%. Yeah, your button RFI is around 44.8% or so, something like that. So a little bit less than 45, and it should be like closer to 50.
And
so
I think what's good to add is like I think for people, and this is because this should be very motivating for people, right? It's like, so what is some of the most efficient ways of studying? Look at profitable hands that you're folding. So, you know, like we often say, like the game starts pre-flop. That's where you should start learning, like learn your ranges, etc. People sometimes think like, oh yeah, but I want to know about like 3-betting and c-betting and all that stuff. But you can already tell, like, this is step one. Like this is one of the quickest fixes you even would apply to me, even though I'm more advanced. You would apply to me in terms of like, hey, there's money on the table. Let's fix this quickly.
100%, yeah. And it should also be motivating because, like, when, you know, like I said at the beginning of this session, you are winning, right? Yeah. And like, there's still money on the table just with your button opening range, right? Yeah. So like, it's not like it's impossible, right? It's not impossible to win. Okay, so Queen 7 offsuit's typically a hand that we mix. If we cover the opponents, I usually advise that we open it. Here I would mix it, so I don't think it matters. So it's not like we're looking for mistakes. So like, this is a mistake. Okay. So like for you know, so I'm gonna end up bringing over just a couple models for you guys just so you can see them quickly. I'm not gonna like try to get too deep in models, but you know, it can be helpful for people to see what a button opening range should actually look like. So the way that I tell people to remember this is we're gonna be opening every ace, offsuit 8s, king 6 offsuit plus, suited 5s from the button. Okay. So that's like a nice little primer. So if we see Lex folding suited 5s, an offsuit ace, king 6 offsuit, or an offsuit 8, generally speaking, that'll be a mistake. Will there be exceptions? There will be exceptions, but on average, if we see those types of folds, then we know that we're making some mistakes. So this is just a pure open.
You know that.
And again,
sorry to interrupt you, but you know that nowadays, when I miss it, because we also did a lot about c-betting, right? And when I miss a c-bet on a pure c-bet board, or like it'll go to the turn and I see Jack 6 deuce, and I'm like, why the fuck are we on the turn and it's 5.5 big blinds, you know? And it's the same with, sometimes I'll fold and like I mean, this hand is glaringly obvious, but let's say like a less obvious one, right? Like let's say something like, I don't know, 10-5 suited or king 6 off or something, right? I fold king 6 off and I'm just like, oh fuck, he's gonna have my ass for this one, you know?
Sure. Yeah. Nice. Well, I'm glad that I'm a motivating factor to getting better, so that's good. Yeah, so here, like, it's, you know, I normally mix this spot at around 60, you know, I don't know what effective stack depth you want to call this, but at this stack depth, I would call this normally a mix, but when we cover both, I tend to open it. So basically what we've learned recently, like, you know, maybe in the last, you know, year or 2 years more definitively, is that even from the very beginning of tournaments, there's a little bit of ICM, right? Even at the very beginning of tournaments, there's a little bit of ICM. And what that means is that, you know, as long as we cover people, they're going to experience more what we call risk premium than we do. And so they kind of have to worry more about their tournament life than we do. And so we can open, you know, a little bit more flexibly. So if we cover people, you know, I like pushing the gas a little bit. And if they cover me, I kind of go in reverse. So I like opening here. 10-8 offsuit's not a mix. So this hand's not a hand that we want to, you know, it's an offsuit 8 for those of you guys that were paying attention to the beginning of the session, right? Offsuit 8s, we don't mix to fold. This is just a mistake. Again, Lex, you're making around 50 big blinds per 100 with these mistakes. So very quickly, this is like death by 1,000 cuts, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for you guys who are watching, who are less familiar with what a win rate might look like, a healthy win rate for Lex would be like +5 big blinds per 100 hands. If Lex can win for 5 big blinds per 100 hands, we're doing pretty well. Okay, he's winning for a little bit less than that at the moment, but he's still winning, and he's winning for more than 1 or 2 or something. Like, he's winning for a good amount. I'm not going to disclose his win rates, but he's winning for a good amount. But we want to get to 5 big blinds per 100. That'd be fucking awesome. And this fold, based on like Lex's performance over a pretty large sample, is costing about 50 big blinds per 100. So we're at some number. We're trying to get to we're just trying to get to 5, and this is basically cost us 50. So we don't want to. We're trying to skip those. We don't want those happening. So this is a mix. This is worth around 0 here. Final to fold there. Another offsuit 8. We can't mix this. Can't afford to mix this. Got to be pure opening. 7-8 off, pure open, not a mix. Okay, so it's offsuit 8s. When we say offsuit 8s, we're talking about the low card being an 8, but 8-7 is like a pretty good hand. So it's one that sneaks in there. 10-8 offsuit 8. I don't want to see us folding this. Suited 5. We talked about this. Now, as we get shorter, we start to see some of these come out. Right. So as we get shorter, we do start to see some hands come out. Jack 5 suited will not come out at around this stack depth. So
yeah, but it could, and before it becomes a fold, like these Queen X, Jack X, King X become limps, right?
That's correct. Yes, if you're willing to, because some people don't want to play a limping strategy because they don't know how it works. But if you're willing to engage in limps, that's correct. This hand will get converted to a limp prior to being folded.
It makes I'm laughing because like I don't necessarily know the specifics behind the limping strategy.
Sure, but you want to limp.
Yeah, but I limp. Like I always feel like you should make the mistake further down the road. If I would never limp, let's say you go over my database and I would never limp, and we talk about the biggest errors and the biggest things to fix. Then if I never limp, but I avoid it even though it's good, then you will also never see that I'm bad at it, right? So I'd rather make the mistake further down the process and just limp, and you going like, dude, you're fucking limping. It's just all over the place.
That's what I tell people too, because a lot of people, and this is more for the people watching than for you, but a lot of people, when they play no limit, they're like, oh, I folded pre-flop because I don't know how to play weak hands on the flop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you think you're going to learn how to play weak hands on the flop?
Yeah, exactly.
You start playing weak hands pre-flop. So So anyway, this is pure open though. We can't afford to fold this. Another offsuit 8, can't afford to fold this. Okay. So obviously, we're starting to see kind of systematic. Again, all of this is since May. We're not looking at 2022 or 2021 Lex. We're looking at Lex since May. So we've got to get these hands dialed in, right? 8-7 offsuit, pure open. King 6 off. This is a mix. Like sometimes it's King 7. I would probably have opened, but
maybe the 16 big stack. I don't know. I'm just looking for things,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
we're short here, so
this
is fine. This is fine. I'd pull this out. Yeah, I'd pull that out. They both have 20. It's probably okay. I'm opening this one up for sure.
That's bad.
We're just too deep.
Holy shit.
Yeah. That's a good hand. It's a pretty hand. I like 7-5 suited.
Yeah.
We're buddies. Jack 8 offsuit. Probably gonna open this one up. Small one being 20 is not going to be enough of a deterrent. I'm still going to open. 8-7. We're way too deep. We cover both players. Definitely never folding this hand ever. Suited 8. They're short. I mean, I could kind of forgive you for this one. You're really short. Yeah, it's probably fine. You do cover them, but they are short, so it's fine, I think, to mix that one out. 10-8 offsuit, pure open. 8-7 offsuit, pure open.
Wow, the 8s is really a problem for me, huh?
Yeah, we are identifying we're dialed in on one type of hand, right? We're looking at offsuit 8s. We're looking at I'm looking at the bottom of this range, making sure that you're hitting the bottoms. So it's going to be a cluster of the same types of hands, because that's what we're filtered for. So the data, the filter won't return anything else. But yeah, I mean we gotta try to open up a few more of these. So again, I think that's something that everybody can benefit from. Making sure that they get their pre-flop ranges dialed in, but also seeing that even a pretty high level player like Lex does make these types of mistakes. And this is kind of what when I coach people privately, this is kind of what it's for. It's for listen, you're winning here for a good amount. We just need you to do more of this. We just need you, right? We just need you to do more of this. So there's teaching, where I teach people new ideas, and then there's coaching, where I'm just look, what you're doing right now We just need you to execute better.
Yeah.
Right.
And the thing is also, it's like, it's not even like I don't know how to play these hands. Like, it's a given that I will be profitable playing them, because the other half of the time when I'm playing them, I'm profitable with them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're making 54 big blinds per 100 when you play them. Every time you fold them, you're losing 13 because you lose the ante. So the spread is 67.
Yeah.
I said the spread was 50 at the beginning, but the spread is actually 67. So every one of those folds that we just saw is costing Lex 67 big blinds per 100. His target win rate is 5. He's sitting just below 5 at the moment. And so, like, if again, this is what I kind of refer to this as like death by 1,000 cuts. Like, it's like bang, there goes 67 big blinds out the front door.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, it's what kind of whatever. I'd pure open this one, so bang, there's another 67 big blinds out the front door. Where that one's pretty short. Yeah, this one's like probably another 67 big blinds out the front door.
Yeah.
Here, pretty deep. We cover one of them. I mean, it's close. It's probably break even-ish. Here we cover both players, king 6 off. I'm probably opening this, so bang, another 67 big blinds out the door, right? And it's just like over and over and over again. It's just we don't have to go very far either, right? Whereas if we do like turn and river work, it's a lot of work to find like when you make a mistake. Now, when you make a mistake, that's more like death by cannonball, because when you make a mistake on the river, it's going to cost you like 400 big blinds per 100. But you have to work harder to find those, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder, because the first time we did this, I think, I don't know if you, I mean, obviously you do so much coaching, but I think, I mean, I improved a little bit, but not enough, because I think at first I folded like 75% of the bottom.
Yeah, you're folding less. You are folding less. You are getting better. Yeah. 100%.
Okay. I mean, I'm not trying to,
No. Yeah, but you're race for sins. I mean, like, listen, this is pretty basic advice. I'm not like, we're not going over calculus here. So I don't think it's the message that I'm communicating. So this is more of a reflection on you, but you are doing a good job of getting better at it. We just have to take it further.
Yeah. It's good because like this will also, and that's why I think this is such a good warm-up exercise, for instance, as well, before you start playing, because like, and that's why when people are downswinging, let's say like right now, right? I'm having like the worst W week ever. And then I look at this and now I can't wait to play the fucking $16 bounty builder because I can't wait to start opening the bottom of my range. Like that's the way it works,
Sure. Yeah. It feels way better when you know that you're a little bit better than you were yesterday. Like there's just something about that. It's like, all right, I'm going to fix this shit. Like it's motivating. This is a more elaborate filter. We're filtered for boards, roughly speaking, filling out. They're not always going to fill out perfectly. And we're filtered for the potential for like missing a bluff, essentially. So this tends to be like a little bit more of an interesting situation to look at, maybe a little bit more dynamic because there's more to talk about. And yeah, for the better players that are watching, like this will probably be a little bit more enjoyable. All right, so we opened from EP, 80 bigs effective, small blind flats. I think the open's reasonable. We ended up c-betting the flop. That's fine. You could check here probably, but I think c-betting's on the table. Small size is certainly reasonable. We check the turn here, which I think is very reasonable as well. I don't think you have to barrel this hand or anything like that. I think checking's fine. And you check the river here. So we are filtered for checking the river.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to kind of walk me through what you think about the hand, how you think about this, and your general thoughts.
So my first thought would be is that he defends the small blind very heavily ace-x. Obviously, it's wider. The suited connectors in there, lower pairs, etc. But there's a ton of ace-x in there. My continuation bet is gonna weed out a lot of the misses.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's not gonna, call king 8 of clubs on this board.
Correct.
Or whatever. So there's no jack X that I should bluff out. So I feel like once he calls the flop, there's a lot of like lower pairs that have reasonable hero calls. There's still some check raises because he's also, fours, threes, fives, deuces, and ace-x that makes 2 pair or a straight. Or he's pot controlling like a7 suited. So I kind of feel like even though this is a relatively natural turn for me to check, even if I have a stronger holding, I still kind of feel like I'm just getting called too often in that sense. But one thing that makes me hesitate is my insanely small c-bet, right? That is going to leave him way wider than what I give him credit for.
Okay, so here's where I would take how I think approach things just a little bit differently. So everything you just said had everything to do with the other guy's range, which is fine-ish, but not great necessarily. So
that's such a good point.
Right. Yeah. You didn't really say a
I
damn
didn't say
thing about
anything
your
about
own
my
range.
range. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing about your range is that on the deuce turn, it's probably relatively uncapped. In the sense that, like, do I think you checked pocket fours? No, probably not. But is it unreasonable to check like ace queen on the turn? No, that's not an unreasonable check. It's going to mix for sure. If not, check a lot. Same thing is true to a lesser extent about ace king. I think that will probably mix. Ace jack is definitely going to be checking the turn at least a mix, if not very heavily. So you're not capped. Okay, so sometimes, I'll give you guys an example really quickly. If the flop was like 7-6 deuce and the turn was like, I don't know, a jack, and it brought in a second flush draw, and we checked. When we check that card, we're going to be capped, right? There's two flush draws. It's a low end board. It's not a good idea to check pocket queens, right? Things might go wrong. So if we have a value bet in that situation, we're going to bet. There's no realized threats to a range on like 7-6 jack deuce with two flush draws. But obviously, it's very easy to construct a river that's bad for a hand like pocket queens. The river could be an ace or a king, right? So you're not going to check hands like that, okay? Now here, the threat's already been realized, right? Like, the other guy could have flatted pocket deuces pre-flop, and he would check all the flop. He could have flatted pocket fours pre-flop. Now you're screwed. He could have 5-4 suited. So he could have the wheel aces make a lot of sense for a small blind flat. So the small blind could have ace deuce, ace three, ace four, ace five. So like this turn, not saying that like now you lose all the time, right? You don't, but it's already come in. The straight's already there, right? And you're up against a small blind flat who's definitely got a lot of ace X in his range, to your point, right? So you don't necessarily want to value bet too thinly all the time. You're not going to just you're not going to triple off ace 10, right? So it's not stupid to check the turn with it. Okay. So you still have a lot of ace X hands in your range. You're not capped because you check the turn. Again, there are some scenarios where you would be. This isn't one of them. So you're not capped. So then if you're not capped, you're going to have a betting range for value. Okay. Because that's that. In order to bluff the river, there is an a priori. There's something we need to have in place before we can bluff the river. We need to have value bets. Okay. So bluffs do not exist in a vacuum. They don't exist independently. Bluffs are a dependent variable, and they rely on value bets. If we have no value bets, we can't bluff. You have a lot of value bets because it's totally reasonable to check the turn with a reasonably strong hand. Okay. So now the question becomes, if not queen nine, then what do you plan on bluffing with? Because if this guy is check folding the river, presumably he might be check calling the flop with like a king high hand or with spades. And if you think about the weakest hands that they'll likely check the river and then fold, it's probably going to be a king high hand or spades.
Yeah.
You don't have a king, you don't block spades. You're at the bottom of your range. How do we know we're at the bottom of our range? Would you open queen 8 suited from this position?
Yes.
Or queen 7 suited?
Queen 7.
I don't think queen 8 suited is a pure open from this position.
No, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, maybe once in a while you'd open queen 8 suited, but I don't think we want to open it too much. So this is pretty much the bottom of our range. We don't block where the folds are going to come from, right? You should probably have bluffed here.
That's a good point.
Now,
it's like, okay, so, we want to value bet, so we want to bluff. So, and if we don't bluff this, then what do we do? Are we going to pick a worse candidate? Or do I just never bluff? Because that's what it kind of seems like.
Yeah, that's the issue with the way that you kind of constructed the problem in your head, right? When you start talking about all the things that are about his range, and you start building this like scary range, like, oh, he's got all these aces, like da 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 da. It's like, yeah, okay, like sure, I didn't disagree with any of that. Like, yeah, sure, all of that's true. He should probably bet the river with a lot of it, to be fair. So his betting range on the river probably has a lot of ace X in it, and his checking range in the river probably has a lot of pocket sevens in it. Probably has a lot of king high busted flush draws in it, to be fair. But I still don't really strongly disagree that he could check the river with an ace, although, again, I think he should probably bet most of them. But yeah, that's besides the point. For the most part here, you have a lot of value bets. And because what we're trying to do when you're playing is we're trying to answer a pretty simple question. We have a basic question we need to answer. Should I bet or should I check? And you can talk about his range a lot.
Yeah, fuck, man.
But like, it's not that helpful once he checks because, like, in my opinion, it's pretty obvious he's weak. We established, right? Like, he check calls the flop against a really small bet, check turn, and he checks the river.
Yeah.
He's probably pretty weak. So you can have, like, once we establish that, I don't really have to go that much further. We don't have to, like, go through every combo in his range and, like, really nail it down. We can just be like, okay, he's, like, not that strong. I can value bet ace X here. I want to make sure I have some bluffs. I'm at the bottom of my range. I'm going to bluff. Like, it should be simpler, right? Like, that way, because that's fast. I can do that in, like, 2 seconds, right? So.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. This is one of the fuck, This guy's
I
just
mean,
check.
I study a little bit. He's got a busted king high flush draw. That's what I said he was gonna have. Go ahead.
But it's just you know from our sessions that one thing that really fucking grinds my gears is playing weak, where people are like check on the river and they just in their head go, wow, thanks. Like, do you think fucking Diddy Gene is over here in the small blind? They just think, great, thank you. What an insanely nice thing for you to do, to check that combination to me.
Yeah, you beat yourself up a lot when you make the weak type mistakes. You don't beat yourself up much. When you punt, you don't. When you punt, you don't. You're definitely on the side of you'd rather punt. I know you. You'd rather punt.
Yeah. Punting's fine because at least somebody sweated a little bit,
All right, so we open up the ace queen suited here. We check the flop. I think that's fine. We check the turn. I think that's also fine. And I think this is okay. This is fine for me. So I don't have a problem with that. So the difference is we're not at the bottom of our range. So for people that are trying to systemize this, because that's what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. We're trying to systemize no limit as much as possible so that the mistakes are predictable. And when we do something correct, it's also predictable. So we're just trying to systemize as much as we can, right? And so the difference with this hand is it's really easy to say, oh, well, maybe we have ace 8 of diamonds, or maybe we have ace 8 of clubs, or maybe we have maybe sometimes we have queen 10, or maybe sometimes we have 10-9 or something. There's a lot of hands that we could point to that are worse than ace queen here. That's why we're not bluffing, because one of the ways to handicap whether or not something's a good bluff is to evaluate its opportunity cost. Like poker is a game of making money. It's a game of trying to accumulate chips, but chips are really just dollars. So really it's a game of economics, right? And so if you have a really high opportunity cost, it's going to make it harder to take the other action, right? So if you have a high opportunity cost in checking, what does that mean? That means that if we check, we could win the pot a lot, right? That's going to make bluffing harder, because bluffing is competing with checking, which is making a lot of money. It's got a high opportunity cost, right? Now with queen 9, we had a low opportunity cost. If we checked, we lost. Case in point, when we had the queen 9, we fucking lost to king high.
Yeah.
Right? If this guy has king high here, king high is a pair, right? But if he has queen high here, we win. If he has ace high here, we win, right? So if this guy checks back a hand, there's a lot of hands he could check back, like ace 9, where now we win. Mm-hmm. So here the opportunity cost is much higher, which is why bluffing here is less attractive than the last situation. Right? Yeah. Again, we're trying to systemize as much as possible, so it's consistent. We have the same reasons for doing things over and over and over again.
Oh, that was good. Okay. You see, this is so nice. Because how much are we fucking stuck? Poof. How much are we stuck? 74k? 74k down, and I can't wait to play. I can't wait to see fucking 8x offsuit on the button. That's what is nice.